his hand resting gently on the head of his loyal canine partner, Ranger, a sable-coated German shepherd whose calm brown eyes held the same quiet strength as his handler. For 7 years, Ranger had been Evan's shadow. Through sandstorms, ambushes, night raids, and rescues that pushed human endurance to its limit, the dog had saved more lives than most men ever would. But this morning wasn't about war. It wasn't about medals. It wasn't even about training. It was about the arrival of a man whose voice could freeze a room, the newly assigned training commander, Douglas Hart, known on several bases for his iron spirit and unforgiving authority. Evan tightened his grip on Ranger's collar as the commander approached, boots striking the pavement like punches. Ranger didn't bark or growl. He simply leaned closer to Evan, reading the tension with the intuition only a military dog possessed. Commander Hart stopped in front of them and jabbed a finger toward Ranger. "Is this the K9 unit slowing down my training schedule?" he snapped in a tone dripping with irritation. Evan kept his composure. "Sir, Ranger is recovering from a paw injury sustained during a live rescue operation. He needs 2 more days out of intense drills." Hart scoffed as he circled Ranger. "I don't care if it's 2 days or 2 minutes. You'll push him harder. These animals aren't here to be coddled. They're tools. Tools don't get sick days." The words sliced through Evan. Ranger had dragged him out of burning vehicles, alerted teams to ambushes moments before they happened, and tracked missing kids in foreign lands. He wasn't a tool, he was a soldier. A hero. But regulations were strict. Evan couldn't challenge an officer's order. So he stood silent as the commander leaned close to Ranger and muttered, "If you can't keep up, mutt, I'll get a replacement." Ranger stepped back, not in fear, but in restraint, obedient to the training Evan had drilled into him. The afternoon sun hit hard across the training field. Evan guided Ranger through slow, gentle movements, nothing that would strain the healing paw. The dog followed every cue with devoted precision. Then Commander Hart stormed across the field again. "You call that training?" he shouted. "This dog looks half asleep." Evan tried to explain again, but the commander grabbed a metal training rod, the kind used for obstacles, never animals, and swung it toward Ranger's side. Ranger flinched away, stumbled, and let out a soft, pained whimper. That single sound shattered Evan's restraint. "Sir, stop," he said, stepping between them. But the commander raised the rod again. "If the dog can't take this, he shouldn't be here." Evan felt something inside him ignite. Ranger is a decorated service dog who has saved American lives. "He is not a punching bag," he said, voice trembling with controlled fury. Hart stepped closer. "You work for me. That animal works for me. If I say he trains, he trains." The commander lifted the rod again. Ranger barked, a deep warning sound. Evan grabbed the commander's wrist without thinking. "Don't you touch him again." Trainees gasped. This level of defiance was unheard of. Before the commander could retaliate, a firm voice cut across the yard. "That won't be necessary, Commander Hart. Step away from the handler and the dog." Captain Aurora Hayes, the base's senior officer, walked in with 2 military police officers at her side. "I saw everything," she said sharply. "You raised a weapon toward an injured K9 officer. You violated protocol, endangered personnel, and abused a service animal." The commander stammered, excuses, but they held no weight. "Arrest him," she ordered. Within moments, Commander Hart was in handcuffs, sputtering in shock. Justice had arrived fast and unmistakably. The days that followed were quieter. Ranger was placed on full medical leave, and Evan stayed by his side. Gentle walks, warm compresses, whispered comfort, Evan did everything to help him heal. Ranger rested his head on Evan's knee, sensing the tenderness in every moment. It was strange how silence could carry more meaning than words. A week later, Evan was summoned to Captain Hayes's office. Nervous but steady, he walked in. The captain studied him with a softened expression. "Chief Marshal, I've reviewed your record and the footage. You didn't cross a line. You protected a fellow officer, a hero." Evan lowered his eyes. "If I broke protocol, you upheld the highest form of it," she interrupted. Ranger's injury was worsened by the commander's actions. "We are authorizing his immediate retirement. And, he may retire with you." Emotion welled in Evan's chest. "Thank you, ma'am." She handed him a small box. Inside was a gleaming medal. For extraordinary bravery in defense of a military service animal. Evan touched Ranger's head. It wasn't bravery, he said. It was love. The captain smiled softly. Those two things are often the same. Months passed. Ranger healed, enjoying peaceful days of soft sunlight and slow walks. One autumn afternoon, Evan brought him to a local veterans event. Ranger moved through the crowd with calm grace. Children approached cautiously, but Ranger's gentle presence drew them in. Then a small girl with a prosthetic leg approached slowly. She looked unsure. Evan knelt beside Ranger. He's brave, Evan told her, but he's gentle too. He once rescued a girl your age. The girl hesitated. Was she scared? Yes. But Ranger never left her side. She reached out tentatively, placing her hand on Ranger's head. Ranger leaned into her touch, tail swaying softly. The girl smiled, a trembling, hopeful smile. Her mother wiped tears. She hasn't touched a dog since her accident, she whispered. Evan swallowed hard. Ranger wasn't just retired. He had found a new purpose, healing hearts, one gentle moment at a time. That night, Evan sat on the porch as Ranger rested beside him. Maybe our purpose was never just the battlefield, he murmured. Ranger looked up with calm, wise eyes. Maybe your greatest mission is here, Evan continued, helping people find courage again. He realized then that justice for Ranger wasn't just about punishing the commander. It was about honoring a life built on loyalty and love. Heroes aren't always defined by the enemies they defeat, but by the humanity they protect. A year later, Evan and Ranger launched the Ranger Project, a nonprofit pairing retired military dogs with veterans and trauma survivors. Letters poured in from across the nation. Ranger reminds me to keep going. Your story helped me heal. Your bond showed me what love looks like. Ranger became a symbol of hope, proof that strength could be gentle, and healing could begin with a single act of compassion. In the end, the commander who crossed the line lost everything he abused. But Ranger gained what every hero deserves: a peaceful life, a loving home, and a world inspired by his courage. Evan learned that sometimes the greatest justice isn't punishment, it's the healing that follows, the kind that spreads from heart to heart. Kindness is strength, loyalty is courage, and the bond between a man and his dog can change the world, one heart at a time.